Hello and welcome to today in the news of Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'm starting with Vanguard on the paper review. Vanguard is leading with 2027 Tinubu tightens grip on Southeast, South in gale of defections. Oborevori Okowa PDP stakeholders join APC. Avenues in PDP made us defect, as according to our manager. Governor Eno denies dumping PDP. Ebonyi, I'm ex-PDP state chairman moved to APC. 150 PDP Labour Party members joined APC in Enugu. Delta is finally APC, that's coming from Kiamo. Attempts to turn Nigeria to one party state we fail, that's coming from Bode George. PDP leaders affected due to EFCC probe, that's coming from Momodu. You can see that story on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. And on page 8, we have insecurity. Enough is enough. President tells NSA security chiefs. Things have improved. That's coming from Ribado. And away from that, on page 13, we have flush bandits out of Kwara in 1 month. Chief of Army Staff orders troops. End allowances. Federal government releases 50 billion naira to ASU and others. And on sports, Nigeria names 17 athletes for 2025 World Relays. Above the banner on page 29, NLC to IMF delegation. So your reforms inflict hunger, poverty on masses. You can see that story on page 29 of Vanguard newspaper. Edun rules international investors. Cardoso to investors. CBN with stressing processes to sustain confidence. On page 9, anti-party activities. Article Wike should leave PDP immediately. That's coming from Bode George. You can see that story on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Now let's move to the Punch. The Punch is leading with 2027 power shift. Opposition weakens as more PDP governors, senators eye APC. Delta Governor Okowa Oshu, Jigawa PDP chieftains, others defect to APC. PDP, Bode George attacked Tinubu. You can see that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And here there's a photo story here with the writer that says killings. Tinubu demands a fresh security blueprint from intelligence chiefs. Federal government grants tax waivers to Dangote and Mikano, 103 others. You can see that on page 28. United States indicts Nigerian for $690,000 scam, false citizenship claim. You can see that on page 4. And on page 6, Lagos local government chair aspirant withdraws for Obasa's son. You can see that on page 6. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, we have INEC moves to legalize voting without PVC. That story can be seen on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. And then we'll move to the Guardian. Guardian's leading story says orders for opposition parties as APC wins more governors and all that. You can see that on page 6. And on page 2, ECOWAS to relocate institutions from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. World Health Organization to downsize operations amid a major funding cuts. That can be seen on news page 4. On news page 7, we have been unfairly blamed for insecurity in Imo. IPOP laments. 10 billion naira ASO Rock solar project and admission of power sector failure, says Uriwa. Insecurity. Tinubu security chiefs in talks. 36 governors discuss crisis in Abuja. Lagos has a shortfall of 66,000 doctors, nurses, says government. Scandals. President won't allow Akpabio to step aside, says senators. Reps say 1,723 vessels engaged in sharp practices on Nigerian waters. You can see that on newspaper 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And lastly, The Nation is leading with Oborivori Okowa defect to APC with entire Delta PDP. Governor leads all political appointees, leaders at all levels to ruling party. Articles 2023 ruling mates leaves. You can see that on page 4, and also inside we have Oshun Rep Twitter PDP. Take out a terrorist, president orders as security chiefs. You can see that on page 5. On page 17, federal government releases 50 billion naira to varsity unions as end allowances. You can see that on page 17. And above the banner, how Nigeria's reforms are faring by Edu and Cardoso. IMF gains of subsidy removal come slowly. You can see that on page 5. Lagos bans expectant mothers from Hajj. We have a thousands pay tribute at Pope Francis' body's public viewing. You can see that on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. That's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Oludare Maiwa, is the publisher of Global Financial Digest. Good morning, Mr. Maiwa.
Good morning. Glad to be here today.
Yes, thank you for joining. All right, the gale of defections from the People's Democratic Party (PDP) to the All Progressive Congress (APC), especially from the South and Southeast geopolitical zones, may have given President Bola Ahmed Tinubu an advantage ahead of the 2027 election. The latest defections of Governor Sheriff of Delta State and also his predecessor, Senator Ifan Yoko, and other PTP stakeholders in the state and have, equally set the tone for the Tinubu's gradual takeover, from the South. So, but what does this recent wave of defections to the ruling party signal about, the political strategy of President Tinubu ahead of the 2027 general election?
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, it's not unusual to see people migrating from one political party to the other, especially for the ruling party. It's more attractive to the opposition because they have all the resources, they have all the capacity. Who are trying to the ruling party that control the pulse of the country. People defect based on many reasons. For example, somebody is facing FCC and they want a soft landing from the federal government. You try to defect to the ruling party to get a soft landing. And there's a crisis like a crisis in PDP, for example, moving to APC is more attractive. But all of this movement you are seeing is a prelude to campaign for 2027 presidential election. And that's why you are seeing the movement. Definitely the president wants to undermine the opposition to gain advantage over this opposition. So but it's not unusual to see such movement at this time of the year. Towards the 2027 election.
Well, is this surge in defection a sign of growing influence or political desperation?
No, like I said, the federal government has the capacity of patronage and has influence over what happens at every point level. And you don't expect somebody at the president who is fully the leader of president to just give up. And if you want to undermine his opposition, and the defection of data governors and the former running mate is a great undermining. Power to undermine the opposition, undermine the people, and it's to the advantage of the president. Of course, many Democrats will see that we are moving towards one party state. It happened during PDP as well. To remember the Obasanjo regime, they appointed the chairman of AD. Alliance for Democracy as a special advisor. So it's a political gimmick by the Green Party to actually undermine the opposition. and to gain advantage ahead of them in the coming election. So it's not unusual. But unfortunately, it might undermine the democratic tenet of this country. It tells us that we are not mature for democracy. That people can cause carpet, people can move from one party or that without any scope. To talk about the fancy stage of development is. And that's unfortunate for us. Because there's no we can develop if we don't have a multi-party system. If everybody wants to belong to the ruling party because of the patronage, because of the financial attraction, because of position, because of running away from persecution as a result of corruption, we are not going to develop it with that kind of system. That's where I look at it.
But this defection, what does it mean for the opposition parties? Particularly the PDP and the Labour Party. Are they losing relevance, or is it that they are failing to hold their ground?
I think it's a major blow to the opposition. There's no doubt about it. You see a state governor. Don't forget that state government have the capacity, have the resources to fund election, to commit to election of their candidates. So if, for example, PDP is losing a state government, from data, for example, where the resources, if you compare the application of federal allocation to data, it's very huge. So if PDP, for example, is losing the governor of that state, it reduces the resources available for the party to win election, because the state contribute much more to push the success of their political party. And so it's a big blow to Atiku, it's a big blow to PDP, it's a big blow to the opposition. And for the data government to move, there's a signal that there are more governors of PDP that will move to APC in the coming days. And so we can't really downplay it. It's a big blow to the opposition. And for us, it's undermining the democratic tenet of this country. It's not good for, because once you have a ruling party, a bigger ruling party, then they are free to do anything, because no party will challenge them, nobody will criticize them, nobody to wash their back and become a free for all for them. So it's not good for our democracy, really.
All right, so,
it's not an issue.
Still talking about the 2027 general election, the Independent National Electoral Commission has expressed willingness to allow eligible Nigerians without permanent voters card to vote in the 2027 elections, but insists that such a move must be backed by legislative amendment. What are the potential benefits and risks of allowing Nigerians to vote without a permanent voters card?
Yeah, I think it has its own advantage, it has its own disadvantage. For example, people who have misplaced their voters card, who have access to vote rather than just being disenfranchised and disenfranchised in the process. And some people probably can know who probably have their name on the list. What probably we have not seen the modality we have to adopt. We need to wait for the modality and see how we are going to implement this process. Yes, it has its own advantage, like I said. That means that more people will have access to vote. But the PVC may be an entrance who are not to collect their voters card, they misplace their voter cards, and all the rest. Those people, there won't be any entrance for them. Then the other side of it, the flip side of it is that if it's not properly managed, it can be used to manipulate election. Because that may now become a free for all. Because if there's no moderation, if there's no management, proper management, how do you identify the people who are coming to vote? Are they of age? Are they not of age? Is there going to be a list? Why are you going to generate those lists before you can vote? If those things are not there, then it's going to do sort of free for all, and a real party, a party that has resources to buy vote, can use that as its own advantage to the election. That's the flip side of it.
Well, so how can INEC ensure the integrity of the electoral process if PVC is a long considered
we must have a voter list. How do we generate it? People register. We must have identification. There must be a means of identifying people. And we have many biometrics registration in this country: driving license, passport, NIN, and all the rest. Without those, you can adopt NIN, for example, as a means of identification, as a means of voting for eligible voters. For example, you are 18, you have NIN, and then the NI could make the record available to INEC, where they can now, pull out those who can vote and not vote, and generate their own voters list for such data, and then distribute it in the low of the voters' wards, kind of a thing. And there's a lot of way can really digitalize the whole thing, so that you can be able to identify those who are eligible to vote. Or if there's no data, there's no electoral of voters, then there'll be chaos. And there won't be how to allocate people for their wards, how to allocate them. Maybe when you use a9, for example, maybe you can, where do they register, they have their resident address in the database. You can use that to allocate them to wards where they can vote. Then, but we know Nigerians, we are so messed up that yes, we don't really have organized that could actually manage that process. So it will be very difficult, very chaotic for INEC if it's not properly matched, unless we by them that could synthesize the whole process. In other words, you can substitute them to their wards, to their government, to their development centers, so they can now be identified people within their location. They can go within their location. That way, if you are not able to do that, then we are going to create chaos that will mess up the next election.
Nigerians have expressed it. Some Nigerians have expressed it that they've lost confidence in INEC. So, do you think this move will further erode or enhance public confidence in INEC, or do you think this move is, it's filled with red flags?
Yeah, if as I said, if it's not properly managed, it will continue ruining the image of INEC. So, like I said, we need to wait for them to understand how are they going to manage the process. What are the framework they are putting in place? What are things they need to do? And when we see the guideline, that will inform our commentary on whether it will be successful or not. But like I said, the weak data system in this country, data management in this country, with weak internet access, with with corruption all over the place, it's easy for a political party to mismanage it, to hijack it, and use their advantage, and to mess up the next election, unless it's properly and properly managed, such a manner that it could be very so transparent for everyone to know that there's no behind the counters distortion there. Otherwise, it could ruin the image of INEC, and you just mess up the election. And many people will probably not going to waste their time in the polling booths, because they you have seen it as a defeat accompanied by the big party.
All right. The vice chairman of Agege local government area in Lagos State, Mr. Oluwagbenga Biola, he has withdrawn his interest to vie for the chairmanship position of the local government in the upcoming July 12, 2025 council election. And Abiola said he stepped down for Obasa, son of the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa. What do you think about this?
No, I've said it over and over. There has never been a democracy in Lagos State since 1999, when we have now president as governor of the state. They can pick their candidates for elective position. It's the elders, it's the leaders of the party at the local world. And I think Obasa is one controlling Agege, and finally controlling some support the rest. And there are people who are controlling parts of the estate and report to their godfather. They have never been, even when they do primaries and somebody wins, they still rewrite the list. So it has, for me, Lagos election is just what can I call it? It's just a sham in the instance of it. You can imagine somebody who just be pitched as a speaker of the house, and probably because of the influence and the press and got to that position, and now pushing in his son and wanting other people to step down. They are not willingly stepping down, but because he's the leader of the party in that unit, in that area, local zone, they have been zoned for him. So he controls who become what in that area. He's acting on behalf of the godfather in Abuja. So it's a game that APC, right from AP, AC, ACN, and APC, they are playing, and nobody should be surprised about that.
So is this not going to affect and turn into political succession within families with what is going on?
It is. Look at the cabinet of a Lagos State governor, for example. You have the children of the minister of mines and power. You have the children of all the political bigwigs in there. Go and look at the corporation NDAs. They are all the ones that are appointed to big places, that place. The children of this political bigwigs, APC. So it has become a family's affair because there's no democracy. There's no room for the common man in the local setting. And even when you belong, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who was a member of the APC where is the leader that dictates who becomes what, and we have to wait for them. And if you're trying to show that you have a force, you have to go and form your own party to contest under it. So that has been a tradition in Lagos. So everybody is a well-known secret in Lagos. So it's not going to change. We are not seeing changing in the years to come. Because I've been rooted in Baba Sokwe kind of a thing. And that's what you are seeing in Lagos, and that's what we see. That's what we are transmitting to Nigeria at large in the federal level now. So it's unfortunate for our democracy, but that's the thing we can find ourselves.
All right, lastly, let's take a look at this one, and it's on insecurity. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday, he met the National Secretary Advisor, NSA, Malam Nuru Rubadu, and other security chiefs over the lingering insecurity in the country, and he charged them to deploy new strategies toward ending the menace. And he said enough is enough. What do you think about this?
Sometimes I wonder the way we operate in this country. If you look at UK, Canada, or US, for example, or probably even Kenya, South Africa, which are probably our peers, I'm not heard where the government the president to call somebody to say, go and do your work. I'm not seeing where the president to invite them to go and to charge them to must do this, must do this. They are appointed to do the work. And there's somebody who is their commander. They should be capable of doing it. And if they are not capable of doing it, you remove them. Secondly, when the president returned to this country, what I expect them to do is to visit Plateau, Benue, and Kwara, where there has been massive killing in the time past, and for him to address the nation on what is planned to end insecurity in this country. It's not to send the NSA to pass the message to Nigeria to the NSA. It's like probably taking Nigeria for granted. He's the leader of the nation. He's the father of the nation. And when there's a crisis, he ought to be seen to be in the forefront, to speaking to these people directly, addressing the nation, addressing the bandits, insurgents, and the rest. Say, we are ready to put you down. And we should see our commander-in-chief at the forefront, speaking to these people. We see Trump say, I will bomb Iraq. And with that kind of thing. That's what we want to see commander-in-chief doing, not for him to call some people into the room and say one of them people address us. No, that's not what we expect. We expect one of the high power person from the presidency, either the vice president or the president, visiting the scene of the crime and assessing the situation and speaking to Nigeria that is what the government is doing to end this insurgent, to end this insecurity, and they are going to name it in the book. When we see our CNC in the forefront saying this, they will develop with confidence in Nigeria that yes, we are moving towards finding solution to this situation. But when the CC just came back and invite some people and talk to them, and one of them is addressing, it tells us that hey, we are not taking us for serious. You have been taken for granted by the presidency, and that's where I look at it, and that's not the way it ought to be.
Well, with the president's directive to security chiefs, what specific outcomes should we expect from it?
I'm not expecting anything to change. We witnessed that during Buhari regime. When we say we condemn the Kataka, we condemn this, we condemn that. It's only condemnation. We're not seeing action. What are the framework? What are the structure on the ground to end this insurgency? I think these are not ghosts. What are the military, the armed forces, the air forces, all the security forces are doing? What are the DSS doing in ensuring there's an intel to find out where the people are saying people are alleging that these people are coming from Mali and coming from that, not Nigeria. What are we doing to stop invasion of our country from stranger, from Fulani, from the Sahel and invading Nigeria? What are we doing? We're not seeing anything. The Boko Haram have been attacking military base in Borno the last couple of weeks or months, and have been getting a deadly blow on our troops. What are we doing to stop this thing? What are we to fortify them? They have been allegedly using unmanned drone to monitor, to attack our troops. Where are they getting this? Where are they getting this input? Why are they importing them for? Are they getting their? What are their source of their? What is source of their fuel supply, their weapon supply, their food supply? We're not tackling those things. It's a thing. For you to stop a war, you must stop the supply of weapons, supply your food, supply of weapons fuel to those people. But what are we doing about that? We're not doing anything. We're not doing so much about that. And only contributing our soldiers, grand soldiers on the end of these bandits. Are they more powerful than our own military forces or their security forces in this country? I'm not sure they are. But because of probably some laxity somewhere and the rest, and that's why we are seeing this thing. So the president should rise up to the occasion. We have enough of condemnation, instruction, directive, and the rest. Let us experience, let us see visible action taken against this people, and let us take the battle down to their base. Then we can now give a sign of relief and say, oh, the government is very serious about the battle. Otherwise, we can't count them to be serious about what they are doing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baiwa, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having today.
Yes.
And have a lovely day.
And you too. And this is where we have to draw the curtain. My name is Demlola Ogunshakin. Do also like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website, www.vanguardindia.com. Have a lovely Thursday.